We have so many stories in our lives, but our stories are not always heard. On the Hear My True Story podcast, we tell our own true stories.
Before the white car backed, our head teacher had scattered. Looking at him, I could only see his tie that was flying backwards, waving at us, and he disappeared in thin air.
I want to share my life story. I want to share my voice with the people because I know that just a small joke I can tell through this podcast, it will make someone smile.
When you ask me what I fear most in life, I would definitely respond to you and say it's fear itself.
We are fighting for togetherness. We are fighting for equal rights. We are fighting to end injustice.
You don't have to be a storyteller or writer because, guess what? Life writes the best stories.
Hear my true story.
The episode you're about to listen to is a special collaboration between Ugandan Art Speaks Out and the Hear My True Story podcast. In this series, young poets from Uganda, East Africa, share their personal stories, dreams, and what inspired them to become poets. At Hear My True Story, we team up with like-minded podcasts to bring these untold stories to the world. We hope you enjoy this wonderful episode, brought to you by Hear My True Story and Ugandan Art Speaks Out.
This is your favorite time of the week with your number one podcast.
Hear my true story.
Hi Loretta, how are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. You look pained. You look good.
Do I? Thank you. Thank you. Don't look bad yourself.
Because I saw you applying makeup, you're like, this one is thinking okay to like put on a video, something like that.
No, you have to look good.
I know.
You have to look good.
So you sound good.
Yeah,
I get it.
Boost your confidence.
So who are you? Who is Loretta?
Loretta is a woman. That's female.
Man, at this point you have to do that. You have to put it out straight. Are you straight? You have to be like, I'm a straight woman.
I'm a straight female. I'm straight. I'm Loretta. I'm a straight female. I am a spoken word artist and also written word. I'm starting written word. I am currently studying pharmacy at Makerere University. I play hockey. I play field hockey for a club. It's called Kampala Hockey Club. Yes, they are hearing. Hi, guys.
I mean, your plate is full already. From the things you've told me, you're a spoken word poet. You are a written word poet. You play hockey. You are a student. You're studying pharmacy at that. You cannot ignore that, man. How do you get to juggle all these things in a day? Now you're here. Maybe after here you have to go and do practice for hockey. You're from church, you told me. Maybe you have to go and read your books, man.
Yeah.
I cannot do that in a day. How do you get to do that?
Honestly, I think it's just the grace of God. Because when I think about it, it's actually a lot. When someone says it back to me, it's a lot. But when I'm going through it, it doesn't seem like it's a lot. Because there's a way you can section your time appropriately. Put this here, put this there.
Now let's imagine that they tell you have a show in like the next 2 hours and you're supposed to be in class. So what do you do? Priorities. What do you prioritize?
You have to prioritize.
What do you take?
My priority is my education, then spoken word, then hockey. Those are my 3. That's how I line them up. But
I hope your captain is not listening to you. They're like,
no, my captain knows. I've told my captain this several times.
Yeah. So you've missed a lot to practice, that means.
Recently, but last year I was a little more consistent.
What have you been working on?
Currently, I've just been writing, studying.
So you're writing, you're like, man, I'm deep into this, so I'm going to miss practice today. You call your captain, I'm not going to appear today. What are you doing? I'm writing.
No, my captain is going to eat me. No, but the reason why I stopped, I first put a hold on hockey was I realized that I needed to first perfect my craft. There's also something else. There's another charity thing that I'm doing. So I realized I had a lot on my plate. So I had to first remove color, some parts of the plate, and then I increase my efforts. Because when you divide your efforts, we won't be giving things. You need to give everything 100%. But when your efforts are divided, you won't be able to give.
It's not possible to do that.
It's possible.
Yeah?
It's possible if you
Convince me, yeah?
If you prioritize.
So let's say you're going to give 100% to pharmacy. You come and give 100% to poetry. You give 100% to hockey.
You can.
It's not possible. That's why you have a priority list.
Yeah,
You're like,
yes.
I'm going to give my education 100%, then I can give poetry like 90%. Hockey comes in with 80%. I don't know which percentage we are talking about right now. We are in degrees.
But like 100% will look like this. If I am able to do a bit of poetry for 40 minutes or an hour a day, if I'm able to write something for an hour a day or cram something an hour a day, that's the 100% I've given in my poetry. Because by the end of a month, I will have a lot of content and a lot of I would have improved my skillmanship, my workmanship.
I get you.
Yeah. It's very possible. Very possible. That's why I feel like I'm currently in your 20s. It's very important for you to try everything. Try everything. Find what sets your heart on fire. Try it. Don't stop until you've tried it. Give it some time. Don't relax in it. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the heart of the matter today. When do you start writing? When do you start performance? The spoken word performances, the written word. When do you start doing this? When do you start saying that I actually have the ability to do this? I can actually go for it, and I think, I can craft my skill. Eventually, I'll be there. When do you start doing this?
When did I start? That's a very good question. Okay, I started in my senior one. I didn't start in my senior one. I got the inspiration in my senior one. There's a poet. He's also one of the poetry nights called Diego Mwesigwa.
He's the love poet.
Yeah, the love poet. He's super lovey-dovey. He's a very good love poet. Everyone should check him out. He taught me. He invited me for a show. We were friends. I was in Form 1. He was in Form 6 back. We were family friends.
I get it.
So he invited all of us, all his family friends, were like neighbors at home. Not family. I think that's a family friend. He invited all of us for a show. So we went for the show. We watched the show.
He was performing.
He was performing. He had made that show. It was called Love's Kachumbali. So it was very It was
blowing.
So nice. It was very exciting because it was the first time I was ever introduced to spoken word poetry. I always thought it was like acting, but it's acting with more emotion and everything put in one, and nice diction and everything. Yes. So when I watched the show, I told him I want to learn. But you know how being a 14-year-old and insecurities and everything, you're like, man, I don't think I can do this. So that was the whole level, ordinary level. By the time I reached Form 5, Kagai actually came to our school, Kagai in Govi.
Yeah.
So he came to our school, and when he came to our school, I remembered my passion for poetry and how I loved watching poetry and how it was something I would want to do. So he came to school and I was like, I can't miss this. So I went. It was an optional event. You could come if you wanted. It was held by the Writers Club at my school. So he came and he started teaching about poetry. He gave us very small prompts. And the prompts were there were small prompts, but then you would write so much. Now he called anyone who had ever written poetry to leave the room and go get their poems. Then people who had never, including myself, he told us to remain behind, and he gave us prompts, and he made poetry so it's like anyone can do it, which is true, anyone can do it. He made it so easy and made it he as if lessened my insecurities. He made my insecurities seem very meager, very small. So I decided to, he said, now from the prompts I've given you, come and then perform. So we're like, okay. So we came.
So you wrote something, and then he's calling you to perform.
Yes.
I get it.
Yes. So when we came and we performed just a bit, he chose some people. He chose like 10 people from the people who had performed, and I was among. And I was like, oh yeah, exciting. So we did some poetry thing that was very new to us. So when we were rehearsing it, he had given us the idea, and we had an idea of our own, but then he gave us another idea, a very theatrical poetry idea. I hope I'm not talking for too long. a very theatrical poem idea where we were running on stage, and like it was very when you see it in practice, you're like, what are these guys doing? But when you see it on stage, because the stage is your subconscious, when you see it on stage, it's literally what is happening in your subconscious. They reflect and glue. They glue what they are doing to your subconscious, to the extent that you won't question. You'll just feel.
So that is Form 5. You start serious
Form 5,
work.
Yes, Form 5 poetry. Then I reached Form 6. I was so busy with school. School was too much. So I decided to start it. In Form 6 back is when I was like, okay, you know what? Let me try.
Going back to what you talked about. So you made these practices.
Yes.
With Peter.
Yes, with Peter.
So did you get to perform this? What are your friends saying? Like, are you going to really take this up? Yeah. What are your friends saying? Do you get to perform it anywhere?
Yes, we got to perform it at school. And people were very entertained because it was our first time. What's the word? We're amateurs. It was our very first time.
I know the excitement that comes with that.
Yes.
You can give it your all, 100%.
Yeah.
I get it. So you perform.
Yeah.
Form 6 is here. You're not really into it.
I'm still very interested, but busy with school because it's a candidate class.
So you get done with school.
Yes, I get done with school.
So in vacation now.
Yes, in my vacation. Now in my vacation, I remembered Form 1 me wanted to do poetry. I said, you know what? Let me just do it. So I hit up Diego Mwesigo. I'm like, hi Diego, remember when I told you I wanted to do poetry? Now I'm very, very, very interested. So he linked me up with Luz the poet, who literally taught me everything I know right now. Luz the poet. So Luz the poet, I linked up with him. Luz the poet was like, okay, I have a show coming up. I have a poem. Like, would you mind performing it? I said, whoa, okay. Now remember in Form 5 when Kagaye came, he came and made us write poetry. Now when he made us write poetry, I decided I could write. I just decided. I didn't think I could write. I decided, you know what? I can write. So I decided to start writing. So when I wrote a piece, but I had never performed it anywhere, and I really liked it. It's the one I actually performed in the next poetry night.
It makes sense why you performed that, why you wrote that, because the Luz that I know, that's what he likes.
Really?
The subject matter of your piece that you're going to explain to us after this. That's what he likes, because, maybe the pieces that I've watched of Luz, of him perform, that's the subject matter he's talking about.
Activism poetry.
There's male, female.
Yeah.
He's trying to fight for the males, of course. So yours, it was the females, trying to bring in the female side of the story.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. So how did you get to write this and this particular thing? Because you said you wrote it in Form 5.
Yes, I wrote it in Form 5.
Let's first talk about the subject matter, what it's about.
Okay, it's about a woman who... Okay, in my Form 5, I was seeing, children were always behind the curtains, behind the curtains or in our bedrooms when important visitors come home and stuff. So I was not only in my relatives, but in other people. I was seeing a lot of women tired of their marriages. And for me, it didn't make sense because you chose this partner. Why are you tired of your marriage? And they realized it could be their fault. That's number one. But the one I was seeing a lot was usually the gentleman's fault. The gentleman's fault.
I get it.
Yeah. But again, this does not sway from the fact that it could have been the women's fault. It could be the women's fault. Marriage is a 2 people contract.
Yeah.
So it needs both of them to work together. But I just took the point of view of the woman because the stories I was hearing a lot were from the women's point of view. Now I can go and hunt for stories in a men's point of view. I can write a piece in a man's point of view. But that's for another day. So I wrote that piece because of what I was observing, of how I found marriage to be very interesting. How you fall in love with someone, but you enter marriage with them, and then you start to hate them. I just found that about marriage to be very confusing. So I wrote something about it.
And this is Form 5 that we're talking about. And seeing you getting interested in such topics would be, not confusing. It'd be like, why? She's just young. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
Exactly.
And these are stories you're hearing from people. Maybe they are lying. Maybe I don't know.
That's true.
What came to your thinking? You're like, let me just take the woman's side, and I write it from that point of view.
Because the people whom I was hearing from were majorly women. People were telling me stories of their mothers at school. Because I enjoyed having conversations, those kinds of conversations. I hate small talk. I hate small talk so much. So I prefer having societal conversations about what people are going through in society. And usually that's where I get the concepts to write in my pieces. Yeah.
You get to know that when you write about something, you start identifying to it. Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe I'm thinking if you get to have a relationship, someone is going to be like, she's going to think about me as I identify her from the other perspective that she wrote her piece. You get my point?
Yes. But I feel like this should go out to the audience. Like, people should understand that I'm entering a character and I have to sell that character. And I have to sell thousands of women who have been in that character before me. So, yes, people may think that, but maybe once you get to talk to me, you'll realize that I have a different view. Or I just know how to enter people's shoes well. I think, yeah.
Do you believe that people can actually fall out of love? You love someone, eventually you fall out of love.
Yes,
but you're already married.
Yes.
So what do? You have an option, of course, of divorcing.
Yes.
But women do not do that. Maybe they have children.
Yeah.
Feel like, what is going to happen to my children?
Yes.
So you believe that people actually fall out of love?
I really do believe people fall out of love.
No, I don't believe so.
You don't believe me?
You have to convince me that.
You don't. I believe people fall in love, and the problem is sometimes people fall in love with the idea of someone. So if you fall in love with the idea that this person, this woman, this man is going to become like this when I marry them, without seeing it firsthand from yourself, by yourself, I feel like that's when the marriage becomes toxic. If you're not able to have those hard conversations, to be able to find out if you're compatible enough and do the work. The problem is perhaps I don't have a statistic, perhaps people sometimes sit with this human being and fall in love and enter a fairy tale and they live happily ever after. But is it really happily ever after? I feel like there should be more work to be put in growing yourselves, in understanding yourselves, in the conversations, in your plans, to find out if you're compatible enough instead of being at the, there's a height love gives you, there's a height affection gives you. And that sometimes people use that height to determine that, our relationship will always be at that height.
No, I'll tell you why I don't believe that people fall out of love. Well, if I fell in love with a person, well, at that point, I'm falling in love with that person, who they are. And when we get married, or eventually, even if we don't get married, and actually fall out of love, what you say it is, I just believe it's people changing, evolution happening. I just do not like them who they are right now, but I still love the other person that they used to be. So I'm not falling out of love. I just do not like who they are right now. Because evolution has happened, changes have come. Maybe the person has become more angry. Yeah, I do.
But
you
the
just
person
hate
can
what has
become
happened now.
Devil.
No, you cannot hate the other person. I don't.
Devil.
Yeah. That is evolution. Changes have happened, but you still love the person. You're just going to move away because you hate who they've become right now. Not like you've fallen out of love. I don't know if I'm making sense. You get it. It just changes, but you still love the other person. You get me. You get my point.
I think so.
Yeah. I just don't believe that people fall out of love. They just cannot take the changes that have happened to that person.
What is love?
But if they are strong enough,
love?
Man, I cannot explain. No, but what I'm saying, if they are strong enough to stay here, they can deal with that person. Because you have two options: moving away and staying. To love the person that you used to love and accepting who they are right now. They can kill you, I know, eventually. Or you can kill them. You have an option of killing them.
Oh dear. This is going on record.
I know. But that's my point. So you wrote that piece, you performed it, it was amazing. It was really amazing because we had listened to Diego, so we are transitioning to you, to your point of view. That was really beautiful, I must say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So when do you get to write these things? I mean, where are you writing these things from?
In
All the other pieces that you've written, how do you get ideas?
how do
to
I
write
get
about these
ideas?
things?
Usually it comes, as I said, it comes from conversation. When I speak to someone about what's going on in their lives, and most times, okay, one thing about me is that sometimes it's hard to write about what I'm going through. You know how people find it easier to write about a very overwhelming emotion?
Yeah.
Overwhelming emotion. How people find it very difficult to write about, very, very easy. Like for them, when they feel that emotion, they want to go straight pen to paper and write it down. Personally, I find it extremely difficult. I can write about what I've gone through, maybe after a month after I have gone through it.
So what you're trying to say, the easiest way for you to write something, you generate ideas from what people are talking.
Yes, what people feel,
From
what people,
conversation.
or what is going on in society, or what needs to be changed. But to enter my own shoes, I'm more comfortable wearing other people's shoes.
And you're writing these things from their perspective or your perspective?
Their perspective. Sometimes it can be from my perspective, looking at them from where I am.
But usually it is from their perspective.
Usually it's from them.
What if you're not in agreement with whatever they are saying?
What if I'm not in agreement with
That's when you
whatever?
get to write in
I will write in my disagreement. I'll write in my disagreement. That's the thing. I'll write in my disagreement.
I get your point.
Yes.
A lot is happening in society. There's a lot that is going on. We are seeing marginalized people. So you as a poet, how do you come to be in, like, let's say, this is sex, I don't know, whatever they are called, the LGBT and stuff like that. There's race, there's refugees. You as a poet, how do you come in to change the society? How do you come to influence these people?
How do I come to influence this?
Or maybe that's not your motive. Your motive may not be influencing, maybe entertainment.
Yes, obviously I have to entertain, because that's the use of spoken word poetry, is to use entertainment to educate, hence edutainment. I don't know if you've heard of that. But I think from where I am, I guess I just believe I have power in the words I speak. And where I stand, I believe by speaking them, I could create a mental shift in someone, and that mental shift will result into conversations that need to be had. You get it? So I think that's what I just have to write. I just write about it.
Because one thing that is certain, poems are here to disrupt, or maintain how people think, So I think what you're saying, yours usually disrupt people, get them to say whatever they're not supposed to say, whatever they've been keeping to themselves. So through your pieces, they get to say things that they could not have actually said. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
I guess so. I guess in a way, yes. Like, I guess through my pieces, I am able to have people thinking. Because you see, again, as I said, when someone is on stage, they immediately turn into your subconscious. Now, you already have an understanding of something in your conscious. But when someone is on stage, it's as if gives you a battle between what the person is saying and what your views are. And that friction is good. It's very good. It's what brings about conversation. It's what brings about change. Because when someone has that conversation, if people are mature enough not to get offended, and to just speak the truth, it enables people to have those conversations, and development will occur. Eventually, development, change, respect for human rights, etc., etc.
Let's talk about your current pieces. What you are working on. What are they about?
Currently,
are you producing them? Publishing them is the right term, I suppose.
I beg your pardon on that last question.
Your current pieces. Have you any published work? Do you have any published work? Where are you performing? What are these things about? The pieces that you're writing about? Same thing as what you had talked about earlier.
Currently, some of my work is in. There's a journal. It's called Iboa Journal. There was a forgotten its name, something called Smile. I think it's called Smile. Some of my work is published there. A couple of my work, I'm working on collections, on different collections. The work that I am working on currently, it's generally my point of view. Okay, it's as if I make believe Uganda. I make believe, like, if only it was as easy as I was saying. You know, change and development comes from ideas.
Yeah.
When an idea is developed, when an idea comes about, it is then assessed to see if it's realistic enough. Now, my book is just full of ideas. That's my collection that I'm making.
Oh, you could
right
share with
now.
us an idea. Maybe I could buy it. Buy
An
it,
idea.
assess it, yeah.
Right now.
What's your
Lift
working
my
on?
book. Okay. I have there's period poverty. Period poverty is one of the biggest problems in Uganda, because if you see, you cannot all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over Instagram, you cannot miss to see a poster where people are looking for funds to fight period poverty. Now, my idea is, why don't we find a way to make the pads in Uganda? One, make the pads accessible for people who cannot afford them. So I have a piece on that. You get?
I get it.
I have a piece on, currently, like the part I'm almost done with is how to help girls who are not privileged enough, girls who are not privileged enough to get what they need to succeed. So that's one of them.
So what do we do? What do we do to make them at least get something? What do we do?
Again, this is make-believe. I repeat, it's make-believe, but it's an idea. An idea needs to be assessed.
I just want to get into your mind and see what should we do to do
They
that?
should be made cheaper. And by making them cheaper, we need to find a way to, first of all, make them in Uganda, make those which are sustainable for them. If, instead of a girl spending, the question is, a girl spends 3,500 on a packet of pads every month, or 2 packets of pads, that's 7K. Why not find a way to make the pads as cheap as what? As 100. They don't need to be free. Why don't we find a way to make them cheap? There's I think it's Scotland that has just recently made the pads cheap. Obviously, the economy of Scotland and the economy of Uganda is different.
Yeah, because
But
it goes back to manufacturing.
Yes, and all that.
Production, all the costs. So what you're saying, you should come here. It should be like, I should say, a government organization doing that.
Yeah.
So they should actually make them free.
Yes.
That's what you actually
That's what
saying.
I'm saying. Like, if there's any NGO out there, yeah, come and, like, that's one way you can help girls out instead of them worrying, spending that 3,500.
Now that you're making that idea, do you think there are people who are going to implement it for you, who can actually come on board and collect some people that you can get to work with and you can start working towards?
Yeah.
Isn't that better?
That would
just
be nice.
Creating the idea and putting it there and you're like, whoever may see it, whoever it might
That's
concern.
the thing. I don't think I am in a position to do anything about it. All I can do is write. Okay. Not all I can do. What I can do first is write about it, talk about it, have conversations about it. Hopefully, someone who has enough funds and enough connections.
So you've written about it.
Me.
You're going to publish the collection, right?
Yes.
Why don't you make the collection free so that people can actually get to read about it and maybe implement the idea? Because if you make it for sale, you're sure that a lot of people will buy it. So let's start with you. It starts with you. Make it free.
To make it free. If I'm able to get funding,
no,
I can make it free.
No, I mean, you're making a change. You're just sacrificing yourself. I'm going to get the funds, make this collection free so that girls can actually get to read it, or potential sponsors get to read it. And maybe that is my part. I've played my part.
I get what you mean. But again, this is my hustle.
So it goes back to those who are making pads. It's also a hustle.
No, yes, I understand. It's their hustle, but what can be made to make them cheaper? Like it's like this. The thing is, Uganda is still importing pads. Like, why don't we make them here? You get what can be done to make them cheaper?
Once a service comes to Uganda, let's say we understand umeme is going out, but the moment it goes out, electricity is going to be way expensive than it was. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Yes, it's going to be more expensive. So if we stop getting pads from outside the country and we give it to the hands of Ugandans, like a company, like you're going to make pads, they're going to make them more expensive and they're going to make you believe, they'll give you a quotation that like, this is what we are doing, we're using this much money to actually make them. Yeah, you get my point. That is how Uganda is. I think it only gets back to us as people. Yeah, it's not money that works, it's the heart.
Yeah,
it's the heart that works. So if we get into our hearts, we're going to do this, then you can actually do it. I think that's it.
Yeah.
It's not about the money, it's about the heart. So let's look at this, at poetry as we come to a conclusion with this. How do you look at poetry from the monetary side of view?
Monetary
do you believe
side
it's going to pay you at a point, or you're just making art for art? Or that's what you're studying, you're like, it's just going to be a passion, then I'll take in my pharmacy to wherever it leads me, and then art will be just art.
I believe I will benefit from it. I believe I'll benefit from it. Even though it's not monetarily, I believe I'll benefit for it. Maybe another way I can benefit is, I believe I'll create an impact. That's number one. That would make me happy. That would make me satisfied. I believe I will let young people, like, through words, through art, you can make young people believe they can make it in whatever they do.
I get it.
That's another way. Yeah, monetarily, currently in Uganda, it's very hard to make money from poetry. Like from where I've seen, maybe someone can tell me otherwise. You can make some money, but it's very hard to make it. But it is still possible if we as Ugandans come together and go the lengths to make poetry a respectable form of art. Yeah.
I get your point. Thank you so much for being here. It's really a pleasure having you here, Loretta. What's your other name?
Kansime.
Yes. You're from the West.
Yes.
Which part is that?
Which part is that?
Which part of the West?
Kabale.
Oh. But yeah, what's in from that? I can speak some few things from there. It's a pleasure having you here. You're such a dreamer, and I like it.
Thank you.
I can't wait to have you here again.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
We not only have voices for a podcast, but also faces for YouTube. Don't miss your next episode. Hear my true story.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Music by Edwin Matovo, hosted and produced by Otako. Subscribe to our podcast for more stories and visit us on our website, hearmytruestory.com, for more stories. All the links are listed in the show notes of this podcast.